Hey guys, and welcome back to another video powered by Sparesbox. Today we're going to be talking about the S14 that's sitting right behind me. If you have been watching some past videos, you might have seen this car sitting around the shed. We recently did a TTI gearbox install and unfortunately things didn't go exactly to plan. So just to give you a bit of backstory, we took the car for a test drive around 5 to 6 weeks ago after installing the gearbox. We had the car retuned at Red Sun Motorsport, we had the flat shift set up, we had everything running really well. Took the car out to the track and unfortunately on the second lap we had a bit of an issue where the car was cutting out. So we went back into the pits as you naturally should just to check everything, got the car started and all of a sudden I can hear the engine knocking. So it was a huge disappointment, especially after my mate had spent so much money getting the gearbox in the car to not even be able to drive on the track. We checked the logs after we got back to the house. The car was hitting 35 PSI. Still not too sure what's happened there. We've got to check the wastegate and check a few other things, but we're going to get it back on the dyno at Matt's workshop after this brand new 1.5J is now getting put in the car. So we've taken away the standard 1JZ non-VVTi that we had in the car, and we've upgraded it to a 2JZ with a 1JZ head. Now we can really turn this thing up. It does only have a G30 turbo, so we can only turn it up so much. I think it's a G30 770, but we'll definitely be able to get a lot more power out of this thing, and this car will be going a lot faster than it was before. So in a way, it's kind of exciting. Disappointing for Alex, he's had to spend more money, but we've actually been able to save a lot of money as well because he got the GE block really cheap. Only picked it up for I think around 1,500 bucks. And then we got the pistons from all my old stuff that was sitting around, got everything machined up, assembled it, and it's only cost him a small amount of money. It's really just a huge disappointment not being able to drive his car after spending, you know, upwards of 20 grand on a brand new gearbox and a whole installation kit. Quickly, we'll just go through the current package that we have in the car and everything we've installed. We've tested everything. Everything works really, really well. If you guys are looking to do a TTI gearbox install, this is the most, I would say, cost-effective and reliable way to install this into your S14 or whatever chassis you might have. So here we have the TTI GTO, and this is the 5-speed option. There's a few options, the 4-speed, the 5-speed, and the 6-speed. And this is actually the 5-speed XHD, which is extra heavy duty. And this is rated to around 1,000 foot-pounds of torque or around 1,000 horsepower. This is pretty much how the gearbox comes from TTI. As you can see, it's got your reverse shifter bracket here, your potentiometer, that's for your gear selection there. This is where your tail shaft bolts onto. You've also got a temperature gauge sensor here as well, so you can monitor your gearbox temp, and at least so you can warm the gearbox up and know what the temperature is before you get on the circuit. This is your gear shifter here, so the way we're installing the gearbox into the car will be in this orientation here with this shifter linkage here. So you can actually also flip that 180 degrees. Depending on what type of car you have or whether you're using this in the back of the car or putting it in the front of the car. This is your breather here, obviously your filler and your drain here. And this is a TTI bell housing that you can also order as an additional part or use something like a QuickTime or anything else. With this bell housing, there's no holes for the release bearing, which you see here, which is a tilt and release bearing, also a separate item you have to purchase. And there's no holes here for the clutch feed and return line to go out of, or the bleed line should I say. So what we have to do here is we have to drill a hole for that so we can run the lines through it, which is also great because if you do drill a hole through here big enough, you can see where the clutch is actually sitting up against the release bearing. Because when you're setting these gearboxes up, you need to know how far the clutch is sitting away from this release bearing here, because it needs to sit generally around 5 mil. So there is a bit of play for that release bearing to come out and touch the fingers of the clutch. So once you drill the hole here, which we'll do very soon, we'll be able to run both lines out of here, and then we'll be able to look directly through here on an angle and have a look and see where the clutch plate sits in there, and we can actually measure it. So basically we've already got these carbon spaces already made up by Special Projects in our Tarman, and they're going to sit in behind here, and they're going to space out the release bearing depending on what clutch setup that you've got in the vehicle. So we've already measured this up to be about 8 mil. We've got a few spaces here, we've got some 1s and we've got some 2s. So we're going to put 3 2s on there and probably a 1 behind it, and that should be enough to get us about 3 to 5 mil away from the clutch fingers on the clutch face. Now, we've got to install 2 cables. We've got a bleeder cable that's made by Hell. This is a custom made one that we've made with a Jiffy fitting, which is a quick release as well. So we'll be able to get the gearbox out a lot easier and a lot faster and not have to re-bleed the master cylinder or the clutch system every time we remove the gearbox. So we put this one on top. And we'll put this one in the side here. Make sure you push this top fitting away from clutch as well, just in case you do have a very deep clutch and it gets caught up on the pressure plate. And there you have it. So basically both lines are all done now. You've got your bleeder here, so you can externally bleed the clutch. And that's gonna be your clutch feed line, which we, as I mentioned, have the Jiffy fitting on it. As you can see, we've got this aftermarket bracket that we've made up here with a spring and a bolt to go through it. So when you do buy the gearbox from TTI, you don't have this little contraption here. You've just got the lever here, and obviously the TTI shifter connects up to it. Hey, Bobby! And we've got a HGT sequential shifter, which is right here. So it's obviously, we've custom made the bracket to hold this up here, bolted it through here, and we've also bolted plates under here. And obviously it's got a little arm here that connects to a cable off the side, and this is your reverse linkage here. So the reverse linkage actually sits in this little custom made bolt cutout area here, and it sits through here. So every time you pull that reverse lever on the stick, it actually pulls this forward and puts the gearbox into reverse. Whereas TTI have a different setup. They have a shifter setup where it has 2 levers in it, and you push the lever forward once it's in neutral, and then that actually allows you to get into reverse from there. But we've gone with a different setup. We've gone with the reverse system sitting in the shifter, which makes it a lot neater in our opinion and looks a lot nicer. And it also have to install a spring because unfortunately with the cable, it actually doesn't pull back. It goes forward, stays there, and you need something to pull the lever back to get it out of reverse. It's finally back in the car. I'm going to quickly run you through some of the work that we've done here. So we've got the mounting bracket here for the gearbox, and it's all bolted up now with the TTI bell housing. You can see these are the clutch lines that come out of here with the quick release. So we just clip that back in without having to bleed it. We made this out of 3mm steel and welded up the plates here as well. We've got a bit of rubber sitting just in there for some dampening as well. We've had this tail shaft made up by Driveline Services in Greenacre. It's got a slip yoke in here and it bolts up on a flat flange there. And obviously this is a stock R200, so it bolts up on a flat flange there as well. You can see we've got the coolant temp sensor plugged in. We've got the lines all for the reverse gear setup. And this is a linkage in here as well, which connects our HGT shifter into the TTI gearbox. There you go, there's first, second. All right, so this is this reverse setup that we've had to make to get the HGT shifter to actually work with this gearbox. And he's gonna pull the lever up on the shifter, which I'll show you in a sec, but so he's pulling that, and now that's engaging the reverse gear to go in. Yeah, and now he's released it. Go again. So every time he pulls that lever in the car, that pulls that lever back, and then it clicks out. Got the HGT shifter cable coming out of here. It's about 1 meter long, so it wraps around the top of the gearbox, comes into here, comes onto the custom-made bracket we've got, and bolts into the shifter or the reverse linkage here. Put it into reverse for us. There's a little clip here, push that clip back, now that's in reverse. Unlock it, press that lever. Very simple. One more time. So that's currently in neutral now. So now put it into gear. Go again. Nice. Go back into neutral. And last but not least on the shifter, we've got the strain gauge. So this allows us to flat shift without lifting off the accelerator or touching the clutch. And that was tuned in by Red Sun Motorsport on the previous engine, and now it's obviously going to have to be done now again that we've got a brand new motor in the car. All right, so we'll run through the gears now. There we go. So we're not currently flat shifting, we're just going through the gears as normal. We'll shift back down. So very little movement on the shifter, which is great. Go back to neutral. All right, now go into reverse. So push the lockout in, lift the linkage back, now it's in reverse. Into reverse. Out of reverse. Nice. All right guys, well that's it for the TTI install on the S14. We're going to take this car out and test it at Eastern Creek in a couple of weeks' time. The 2 JZ's now in the car. The thing is going to Red Sun Motorsport today to get tuned. It's going to make a lot more power. It's going to be a shitload of fun and I cannot wait to drive it. So stay tuned. I will drop a video very soon of our testing time in the car at Eastern Creek. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you really enjoy the TTI install. If you have any other questions, drop it in the comments below and please subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next video.